Hey, this is Mike Matthews from musclefullife.com, and in this short video I want to talk about supplements that are supposed to help you build more muscle. If you're familiar with my work, you kind of know where I stand on supplements. Most supplements are a waste of money. No supplements are necessary to build muscle, lose fat, build the type of body that you want. Certain supplements can make it easier. Certain supplements do accelerate the process of building muscle, losing fat. Certain supplements like protein, for instance, protein powders make it easier to hit your daily numbers, but you can always just get all your protein from food if you wanted to. So in this video, as I said, I want to talk about muscle building supplements, and these types of supplements are a lot of people spend a lot of money on them, so you're going to see some of the more ridiculous type of marketing claims and just the overall marketing packages are similar to in the fat loss products because people spend a lot of money on that as well. Muscle building also, they just make outrageous claims, and you see there's a lot of bullshit science and fake studies and paid for studies and rigged studies that show ridiculous muscle growth from taking little pills or powders or whatever. If you go to GNC or whatever and you look in the secret steroid case in the back, you'll see products, that they always kind of sound like drugs like cyclotren or, clenbuterol or Depol or stuff like that. And in the majority of cases, these types of supplements are usually testosterone boosters. That's probably the most popular type of muscle building supplement out there right now. Testosterone is just a hot subject these days. T clinics are popping up all over the place, and anti-aging clinics and doctors and things will prescribe drugs, based on almost anything they can find. If they can find any way to get you on drugs, they'll do it. But the unfortunate thing about natural testosterone boosters is the majority are just junk. They're just not going to do anything. They usually contain stuff like tribulus terrestris, which has been 100% proven to not increase T levels. I'll link an article down below where I kind of talk more, about what I'm going to talk about in this video, and then I link to a bunch of studies and stuff. So in the case of tribulus, there's not just a lack of research; it's actually been proven to not work. It does not boost testosterone levels. ZMA, you'll find that in a lot of T boosters, and while a zinc deficiency can decrease your T and fixing the deficiency can increase your T, if you're not deficient in zinc, you're not going to get anything out of the zinc portion of ZMA, which is zinc and magnesium, and magnesium has nothing to do with T levels whatsoever. You also usually find D-Aspartic Acid, which there is some research that it can slightly increase natural T levels for shorter periods of time. And that kind of brings me to the other point is, even if there were some valid ingredients like DAA, like D-Aspartic Acid or others, that could slightly increase your T levels naturally, it'll just never be enough to matter. That's really the point, because why are you wanting to increase your T? If you want to increase your T to have maybe a little more energy or a little bit more sex drive, then it's possible that you could take some natural things. Like if that were me, I would want to make sure I don't have a zinc deficiency. I'd want to make sure I don't have a vitamin C deficiency. I'd want to make sure that I don't have a vitamin D deficiency. There are a handful of others. I don't remember off the top of my head. I should probably look into that research again, write an article on like what are the natural micronutrients that you can be deficient in that can suppress T levels. So if I were looking for maybe a boost in my libido or in energy levels, I would first look to these, if I'm deficient in these micronutrients, if I can address that. And then I know D-Aspartic Acid, there is a little bit of research behind it, and I don't know off the top of my head, I feel like I've seen maybe one or two other natural substances that can slightly increase your T levels. But if my goal is to just build more muscle or get stronger in the gym, natural hormone supplements are not going to do anything. Natural T boosters and natural HGH boosters are even more worthless. Forget about all of those. There's nothing out there is going to work or do anything that really matters. But the bottom line is, and this has been proven in research, that the different kind of fluctuations that we see in the natural range of test and just GH as well, just anabolic hormones, it doesn't affect gains in the gym nearly as much as you might think. If you could take your T from 600 NGDL to 7 or from 7 to 8, for instance, that'd actually be a pretty significant increase. I don't even know if you could do that with just popping a few pills. You could do that through changing your diet and some lifestyle choices. But the point is, it's not going to do anything for you in the gym. You're not going to notice any difference. You're not going to build more muscle, and this has been proven. So, in my opinion, stay away from T boosters. Just save your money. They're just not worth it. If you know that you have low T, like you've gotten blood tests and you know for a fact, you don't just suspect that you have low T because you're not making the same gains as the other guy or something like that, then the first thing I would look for are the micronutrient deficiencies that can cause that. And I would then, to address it, obviously if you find deficiencies, you can address those. And then there are also some lifestyle choices that you can make in terms of your diet and other things. And I would do all of that stuff before I'd really actually bother, buying T boosters per se. I had mentioned that GH boosters, natural GH boosters, are just all a waste of money. What you'll see in a lot of these products is GABA, which stands for gamma aminobutyric acid, I think is how it's pronounced, or that's at least the long whatever version of it. And while GABA has been shown to raise post-exercise growth hormone levels, there are different types of GH, different forms of GH. And the form that contributes to muscle growth, or that really GH by itself isn't, you wouldn't really call it an anabolic hormone. What you see it in with steroid users, the reason why they include GH is because naturally it's anti-catabolic, but when you combine it with high levels of testosterone and other drugs, it then synergizes with those drugs and does, I don't even know exactly the physiology of it because I'm just not that knowledgeable about drug use, but I know that in the world of bodybuilding, what really took the guys from like Arnold's time with that kind of look, which Arnold had all the anabolics that today's bodybuilders are on, but he wasn't on GH and he wasn't on insulin. And when they started introducing GH and insulin to the sport, that's when people just turn into these massive 300-pound shred freaks. So there's something special about GH and insulin as well. Insulin's a separate thing, but there's something special about GH when you're including it with other types of drugs. But back to a natural kind of booster, right? So yeah, you have this GABA substance that it can increases a type of GH, but not the GH not the form that's related to muscle growth. So again, just save your money. You're not going to get anything from a GH booster. GABA actually has a valid use as a sleep aid, but not as a muscle. It's not going to help you build muscle. It's probably also, we should talk about HMB. This is very hot these days. Stands for beta hydroxy beta methylbutyric acid. Quite a mouthful there. And it's basically a metabolite of leucine, which means that leucine breaks down into, one of the things it breaks down to is HMB. Leucine is an amino acid that's responsible for stimulating protein synthesis. Leucine is good. High leucine forms of protein is what we want as weightlifters. And HMB is a controversial molecule right now because there are studies that show that people supplementing with it have built more muscle than people that didn't. But those studies were conducted by Steve Nissen, who's the inventor of HMB and the owner of the patent. There's also a recent study out of the University of Tampa, I think it was, that I don't even know what to think about these results. I had written about it somewhere in an article recently, but basically I don't remember the exact numbers in terms of gains, but when you compare the purported gains from these guys supplementing with HMB to studies done with steroids, HMB was found to be more effective than steroids in terms of lean mass gained and body fat lost. No, I don't care what anybody says. That's impossible. There's just no way that a natural substance, that a metabolite of an amino acid is going to outperform anabolic drugs. It's impossible. So that when I saw that research, and of course that research was being used to sell you on buying HMB, but I just completely dismissed it. Like, there's no way that's not happening. I will link to a couple studies down below on HMB that were not conducted by the owner of the patent. And those studies were much less exciting. They found that HMB didn't help improve strength or muscle growth. So considering that, I say save your money on HMB until, I guess, if more research, unbiased research that doesn't come to ridiculous conclusions comes out, maybe I'll change my stance on that. That said, one valid use of HMB, and actually one way that I plan on using it in my supplements with Legion, is for fasted training. So just as you would use leucine to counteract the accelerated muscle loss that occurs when you're training fasted, which I will link to an article down below on, just so you can see why you even want to train fasted. So you can use leucine, and I recommend leucine or BCAAs, which really you just want the leucine from the BCAAs. There are benefits of using HMB instead of leucine because in terms of anti-catabolic properties and slowing down the muscle breakdown rates, HMB is actually more effective than leucine. So HMB does have a use, but it's not going to help you build more muscle. The valid use for it would be to just counteract muscle breakdown. So that then brings to the question as well, are there any supplements you can take to help you build muscle? And the answer is yes. We can talk briefly about whey protein. I wouldn't say that whey protein directly helps you build more muscle, but whey protein has been shown to be a particularly effective pre-workout and post-workout protein. I will link an article down below so you can see why that is. You don't have to use whey protein, but there's a good chance that if you're using whey protein before and after your workouts, that over time you can make a little bit better gains than if you had used something else. And then there's creatine. Creatine is it's a peptide, meaning that it's a chain of amino acids. It's a natural substance. It's found in foods like red meat. Your body produces some. And it's probably the most researched molecule in all of sports supplementation. There's probably over 200 to 300 studies conducted on it by now, and the consensus is very clear. Supplementing with creatine helps you build muscle, it helps you build strength, it improves anaerobic endurance, it reduces muscle damage, and it reduces muscle soreness that results from exercise. I'll link some studies down below if you want to see some scientific evidence of this, but there's no question creatine works. There's really no reason to not be using creatine. It's very simple to use. You take 5 grams a day. If you're starting for the first time, you can load it 20 grams a day for 5 to 6 days, and then that just loads it into the muscles so you get its benefits faster, and then you continue with 5 grams a day as maintenance. You just take it really, forever. You don't have to cycle. You don't have to stop. If you run out of money, if you want to spend money on it or something like that, there's no negative, there's no side effects, no withdrawal symptoms or something like that. Your intramuscular creatine levels would just go down if you stop supplementing with it. It's said, some people say that you shouldn't use it if you're cutting because it's going to cause you to retain a bunch of water. This is not true. This used to be a problem maybe, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but the processing methods have gotten better. I take 5 grams of creatine a day when I'm cutting, when I'm bowling. I really do it always. And I've dropped it out just to see if I notice a difference in terms of the reduction of subcutaneous water. I don't notice any difference. And in the I email and message and tweet and whatever with hundreds of people every day, and I never hear about water retention problems, or very, very rarely hear about water retention problems these days. And you get a benefit with when you're cutting, in that creatine helps you maintain your strength and maintain your lean mass while you're cutting. So I think it's actually very important to use when you're cutting. In terms of forms, just stick with creatine monohydrate. There are a lot of other fancy forms out there that some of them are actually inferior to creatine monohydrate, and some of them are no more effective than creatine monohydrate, but usually they're more expensive because they're made to seem fancier and whatever. I'll link an article down below so you can read a bit more on these different forms and why creatine monohydrate is really just the one to stick with. So yeah, that's really it. There are no other supplements that I know of that are really going to directly improve your strength or muscle building like creatine will. there are a couple molecules that have, I think, their place in a good pre-workout, like betaine, for instance, which can improve strength and is in the pre-workout from my company Legion called Pulse, contains a clinically effective dosage of betaine. But I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to go buy betaine if just because there are so many different supplements you can take, and I prefer to. And I don't want to be taking 50 different pills a day, so I prefer to spend my money and kind of keep my supplements under control by putting a bit more emphasis on health related stuff like vitamin D and fish oil and spirulina and things like that, which also do have some exercise related benefits, as opposed to trying a million different workout pills that are supposed to help me build muscle and improve this hormone, improve that hormone, reduce estrogen, which, by the way, there are no good that I know of, and I've looked into it because I was actually curious, to see if I could make a product to naturally reduce estrogen levels. I can't find anything that has any real reliable research on it. So again, there's another supplement that just don't waste your money with those. It's really just stick to the simple stuff. Stick to when it comes to building muscle, make sure that you're getting enough protein, and you can use a protein powder to do that. Somewhere around 1 gram per pound a day is just a good rule of thumb. And creatine monohydrate. All right, I hope you find this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.